Okay, before we dive into today's verses, I'd like to review the previous chapters using a few questions. The first question is, who are the we and the us talked about in verse 16? Paul and Silas, obviously, Timothy, and also the author Luke. Where are they? They're in Philippi. This is the eastern part of a Roman province called Macedonia. This is a Roman colony, which is very famous in both the Romans' history as well as the Greeks' history. When is this? This is sometime between the years 49 and 52 AD. Now, Claudius is the Roman emperor, and in 41 AD, he issued an edict telling the Jews to quit disturbing the peace. And then in 49 AD, he issued another edict, and this time he kicked the Jews out of Rome. Now, historians say that the root cause of this was the Messianic Jews preaching in the synagogues, and that disturbed the non-believing Jews. Now, why and how actually, let me back that up. What has happened so far? Paul has exorcised a demon from a slave girl. Now, why or how did Paul, Silas, Timothy, and Luke get here? Well, remember Paul had a vision of a man from Macedonia, and he interpreted that as to go to Macedonia, and also the Holy Spirit has been directing them. So keep these things in mind as we dive into the verses today. Okay, the first one, verse 19. But when her owners saw that their hope of gain was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them into the marketplace before the rulers. The words "was gone." This is a translation of a Greek word, exerkomai, kind of close to exercise. This is the same Greek word that was used to describe how the demonic spirit came out of the slave girl. The owners seized Paul and Silas. Wait a minute, there's 4 guys. Why didn't they take Luke and Timothy? Well, remember, Luke is a Gentile and Timothy is half Greek, so they probably didn't look like Jews. Now, the owners want revenge, but they have a slight problem. There is no Roman law that covers the loss of income due to property being depreciated by exorcism. So remember that the love of money is the root of all evil. They concoct false charges. Verses 20 and 21. And when they had brought them, Paul and Silas, to the magistrates, they said, "These men are Jews, and they are disturbing our city. They advocate customs that are not lawful for us as Romans to accept or practice." Now, the basic charges are that Paul and Silas are agitators and revolutionaries. Now, these false charges play on the Romans' fear of strangers, which we call xenophobia, their prejudice towards the Jews, their knowledge of the Jews' reputation for causing trouble and disturbing the Roman peace, the 2 edicts in 41 and 49 AD, the knowledge that Jews are a tiny minority in their colony, and also the fear of losing their customs, which is the very glue that holds this colony together. They're in a mostly Greek land, and it's semi-barbaric. Verse 22. The crowd joined in attacking them, and the magistrates tore the garments off them, Paul and Silas, and gave the orders to beat them with rods. This is a marketplace, so it's crowded, and the crowd is swayed by the false charges, and they threaten mob violence. This likely prejudices the magistrates as well as frightens them, so they immediately, without a trial or any judicial process, act to appease the mob. Paul and Silas are stripped naked. That was the custom there before a beating. Now, let me summarize. Orders were given for them to be beaten. Now, verse 23. And when they had inflicted many blows upon them, they threw them into prison, ordering the jailer to keep them safely. Many blows. They were likely beaten until the mob was satiated. There was no restriction in Roman law about how many blows could be given. The lictors, which are the people who would be charged with beating them, they had 2 instruments. One was an axe, and if the sentence was death, they would chop your head off. The other one was rods, and they can beat until they felt that that was enough. But that's not all. More punishment follows. Paul and Silas are thrown violently into the prison, and the jailer is ordered to keep them secure. We might interpret this as lock them up and throw away the key. Verse 24. Having received this order, he put them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in stocks. Now, inner prison, think dungeon, and stocks, these were designed to torture the prisoners even more so. Their legs weren't straight out, they were spread-eagled and far enough apart so they caused pain and they couldn't lay down. Now, also remember, they're naked. They've got open wounds on their backs that are probably bleeding and all over the rest of their body where they're beaten. And it's dark in there. So just kind of to summarize, they're in a dark and seemingly hopeless situation. If the story ended here, we might conclude that Paul was wrong to go to Macedonia. But if they were right, that means that God has been ordering the circumstances to bring them to this place. Remember that Christians are called to be salt and light, especially in the darkest and seemingly most hopeless situations. So that's our takeaway today. When you do the right thing and you're falsely accused or abused, or things don't seem to be going right, what do? Pray and wait on God. He sees, He knows, He hears. Thanks for watching today, and don't forget to watch tomorrow to see the rest of the story.